Hello, Unforgettable crew!
Hey guys!
Today we are here to answer the most common questions we get asked about boat life. We are George and Diego. We quit our jobs to renew a tiny 50-year-old sailboat to live on the sea. Once we put ourselves out there, life made its turns and we moved to a more comfortable home, just to lose it a few months later to the biggest hurricane in history. We were already in love with boat life, and as stubborn sailors we are, we didn't give up. 20,000 nautical miles later, here we are in Unforgettable 3, following our dreams half world further from where we started. Subscribe and join our life at sea.
Many people are really interested or fascinated about the boat life or the sailing thing, but doesn't have any idea on how to start it. I think the best way to start is to go with someone else. If you have a friend or someone that already sails, that will make a lot easier, but some people doesn't know anybody at all. So you have to go to yacht clubs, marinas, or sailing clubs in general, or maybe even if you go to a waterfront and you can rent a tiny boat for sailing, I think then you can actually feel.
If you start going to this place Diego mentioned, you start to meeting other people, maybe make sailing friends, and the community is really welcoming, so I'm sure you'll be invited for some sailing experiences.
As a second step, then you can charter a boat for a few days, and then just like you get a taste of the life on board thing, which is a whole different thing from the sailing aspect. In general, I think it's really worth to start small, because the small boats like laser and dinghies, they give you a great idea of the sailing process, of the mechanics of sailing,
the
very
main
basic
principles of sailing.
I haven't done many long passages alone, but it's just like you have to be well prepared, well rested, because you demand a lot from you. But keep calm, try to anticipate every possible situation, because there will be nobody to help you. So anticipate and be conservative. I think that's and have a well-prepared boat.
Yeah, check very well the weather forecast. We're gonna talk about it later. And this is not only for solo sailors. We also usually like to have, first we think the things we're gonna need, and we have everything in hand, closer to us, so we don't need to be rushing inside the boat all the time. Also in this topic about sailing, there is this curiosity if do you need more people to do a long crossing? Can a couple do it? Or I need a big crew? You can do it in solo, you can do in a couple, you can do with crew. I think it's just a matter of personal preference. Of course, as more people you have more help, so you can sleep more. For us, we like to have crew on bigger crossings because we can share the watches. And we can have more time to sleep between our watches, and also we can share the tasks like to cook, to clean the boat, everything.
We've met many people that work across the Pacific on couples, and if something goes wrong, like an autopilot failure, it can be really demanding, because then you just be two people to do the whole thing, and then just if you want to go to the toilet, the other one has to be there, and something like that. But yeah, totally feasible.
And I also think that that's a lot about the personality of the people that are sailing, because we are cool to have other people with us, but some couples or some people just don't feel really comfortable with other people. So if you like to be by yourself or only the two of you, maybe it's better than have more people and you cannot handle more people. It does move, it swings all the time. But you do get used to it. In the beginning it is a bit harder, yes. It's harder to cook, to sleep, just because your body is not used to it yet. But once your body gets into the mood, when you get used to it, it becomes easier.
My advice is sometimes if you are nervous or if you're not used to boating, you kind of fight the boat movement. And that's the worst thing you can do. That's when you get seasick. So you just kind of have to assimilate and kind of roll with the flow.
For sure, to get used to the movement when you are anchored is easier than when you're sailing. When you're sailing, probably is gonna take a little longer, and it might take a long time. It might be faster, it depends on each one, but you do get used to it. Yeah, you will be seasick from time to time, probably. I still feel seasick sometimes.
Yeah, seasickness can be a big problem, but there's some tactics you can do to avoid it. That's subject for another video.
But yeah, you get used to the movement, and not only about seasickness, but in the beginning I remember when we were in the boat and then we would go to land, we would feel the floor moving and everything was moving, and then when we went back to the boat, and it was always very weird. My body was completely crazy in the beginning, but nowadays we don't feel any difference when we are on the boat and we go to land.
What we do we have like a subscription to any website, something like that? No, we don't. We rely on the free websites on the internet. Actually, we just have a subscription when we are on long passages. Then we get a forecast through the Garmin InReach. Actually, whenever you are in a place, you need to see if that specific forecast is reliable to the place you are. We also like to look at the local websites, the Navy or the Meteorological Institute for that specific country. So they have some very fine-tuned models for that region, and that's good. But in general, all these big ones, Wind Guru, Predict Wind, if you check NOAA website, they are based on the 3 or 4 different models, and they are very reliable in a wider scale. It gives you a great idea of the state of the ocean in general. You need to look to the forecast and take signals from that, you know. You need to understand what a low pressure is, what happens after a low pressure.
You need to also see the weather, you know, not only a website. Start observing, start seeing things change on the weather, you know, some kind of clouds, from what side, from where they usually come from, you know. You can get a lot from just observing your surroundings.
Yeah, local knowledge is very important. So if you have the opportunity to talk to fishermen and other sailors, it's really good. So websites are good, are great. Definitely. It's just like amazing service, but don't rely that and just like expect to get everything right all the time. That gives you a great general idea.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand also the world patterns of currents, of wind, of waves, you know, so you can have a bigger idea of, mainly for bigger crossings or for regions of the planet.
Different seasons.
Yeah, so just study this a little bit. We already advised some atlas from Jim Cornell. Yeah. That's really good to see the weather patterns around the world. I think, of course, then you're gonna get more into specific areas, but it's important to have a general idea. I think for me, this helped me a lot.
Whenever I wake up and I'm just like doing my things on the internet, it's one of the things I look every day.
And you also start to learn about the weather when you check it every day about that place. But yeah, I think it's important. It's you can avoid a lot of bad situations if you just check the weather.
Do you have satellite internet? The answer is no.
Yeah, it's not that easy as it sounds. It's pretty expensive to have satellite internet on the boat, and the boats we know that have it are like big boats, and they usually use for weather forecasts, emails, not for Instagram, Facebook, and upload videos on YouTube, for example.
That would be super expensive, and it's way out of our budget. But the main tool for internet connection is the SIM cards, the local SIM cards. So whenever we are close to land and just like 10, 20 miles away from any mainland with a decent antenna, we have internet. Whenever we got to a country, we go to the telephone shop, we got the local SIM cards.
We have a collection of different SIM cards from around the world, and they have very different prices, so it's hard to give you a price in general, but we can give you some ideas. For example, in Panama, internet was really cheap. It was $5 US a week for unlimited internet, so this was really good. In the Caribbean, I don't remember much. In the South Pacific, for example, French Polynesia, it's quite expensive comparing to other places. Nowadays, you can have like 30 gigabytes for $89 if you have a plan, like
subscription.
A subscription.
Like in the Galapagos.
Fiji was really cheap.
Fiji was cheap. Australia really good and decent price. Galapagos was terrible.
Yeah.
But just like it was not a matter of paying. It's just like even if you live there, it's terrible slow. Just like you can barely open Instagram for this.
We also have the Bad Boy.
Yeah, an internet booster.
And this also helps us. You can buy some like 1 hour, 2 hours
from hotspots.
And with this antenna, with this booster, we can do it from our boat. We don't need to go closer to the signal.
In the Caribbean is also common the hotspots.
Yeah,
the Caribbean is very well set for cruisers.
I just think like if you want to live on a boat and if you want to travel to remote places, you cannot be too demanding about internet.
Yeah.
In that position.
Look Bruno, he's trying to get some phone sign up. So just plan, like do all the work you have to do in the bigger cities, in the most like easier anchorages, and then for example if you're going to the Tuamotus in the French Polynesia, don't expect to have much internet ad, so plan everything in advance if you can, because it's just so far, you cannot demand much from these kind of places. And on ocean crossings, some people get really worried about internet, but the thing I like the most about ocean crossings is that we don't have any connection. So we just live the present moment, and we have of course some kind of communication with
satellite device
for weather forecast and just short messages, and this for us it's enough.
It's funny because whenever we're in a long passage, and then the first days are just like, oh my god, I lost the internet, and then you miss it. But then when you're approaching land and you have the internet, you don't want it. We don't want to go back. It's just oh man, I feel so lazy. There'll be unanswered messages and emails and things like that. But
and of course we understand many people just like us work with this. We need internet to work today, and we are really glad we can find it everywhere and we can connect with you guys through the internet. But you don't go too crazy about it either,
Talking about buying SIM cards, by far the thing that we are asked the most, it's money. How do we make money? How much money we spend in a month, in a year? So let's get started with this sensible topic. Good budget for a 40-footer, for a couple in a 40-footer, it's from $25,000 a year. We can survive easily with $1,500 a month, but then you have some maintenance. You have to paint the bottom of the boat, or you have a drastic failure in some important part of the boat, and insurance and health insurance. So 25K, it's a good value. You can live with some comfort. And I think that's a very honest and open answer I can give you. One thing is, whenever you are really away from everything, from cities, just like islands, and feeding from what you have on the pantry, then you can spend very little money. Just like during the quarantine, we are isolated in the island of Huahine. There was no shops open, there was no restaurants, there was nothing. There was nowhere.
No shops for parts and maintenance.
Yeah, there was nothing to spend money, and we were living with just like under $500 a month.
Yeah, we were only buying food actually.
And that was fantastic.
We were not moving the boat also.
Yeah.
Of course, it's gonna be a little bit different from place to place and the lifestyle you choose to have.
Good thing, it's just like a cruising community is so amazing. So our go out is just like gather with another cruisers, and it's always just like a potluck. Everybody brings a dish and whichever booze they have on the boat. So you can cut costs a lot on the going out part.
I think also something that helps a lot to save money is do as much maintenance as you can by yourself.
Oh yeah. People ask us just like, how can you afford in general to live so long on the ocean? And I think the way we manage to do it, the way we can still be on the ocean is just like we reduce costs a lot.
We had some moments that our bank accounts were basically like
bread.
We have no money at all. On the boat, we don't have water bill, we don't have power energy bills. So I think also it helps a lot if you keep it simple, you know?
Of course, consumption habits, just like
yes.
For sure, we don't buy near as close as much clothes you used to buy, and also beauty products or haircuts, things like that. Yeah. So it's little things, and you know what? It's totally worth it. I wouldn't trade it for a minute. Yeah. I love to live simple more and more, and I think that's a very important part.
We just saw that we don't need so many things, and we don't miss it. That's the truth, you know? We don't feel like buying more things because we just don't use them. So our consumption habits changed a lot, and I think it's really good for us, for our savings, and also for the planet to be way more conscious about what you are buying.
Okay, we talk how much, but how do we make this money, Georgia?
Yes, because
she makes all the money, so I'll let her talk.
To spend the money, you need to make it. We've met a lot of people along the way, and there's so many different ways to make money living on the road. Our experience, we've learned that work better for us to do a lot of little things, a lot of different things. So we try not to rely on only one kind of source. Yes. We've been working a lot on our YouTube videos, and thanks to our patrons and apoiadores that support our content. This is our main job. This takes like a big amount of our time. So I'm really glad we like what we do. So this has been our main source of income nowadays.
Eventually we do some smaller projects, some sponsorship. Very eventually we do a charter to bring some money, and it's also great. It's a very nice way to meet new people and make some money as well.
Yes, to have crew on board that can help with the expenses of the boat, of the life aboard.
Especially on passages.
Yes, also helped us a lot. When we left Brazil, Diego managed to still work offshore for a while. I just found out that there's no big secret, you know? Everybody's working and working hard.
It's more about commitment. If you are really keen to live on board, and if you have the passion and you just like feel like doing, you find a way. That's what we see in the families, because every family, every couple it's a bit different.
Yes.
But there's so many of these families, couples around, and each one is struggling in some point. It's not like glamour and enjoyment. Everybody's working hard to keep living on board, and I think if you ask 90% of those people are gonna tell you that it's worth it and they don't regret. All this effort pays off. But you have to find your own little specific niche and make the money out of it. As some of you may know, our finances are just about to be impacted hard now, as there is a new crew member coming. So of course they will generate some little havoc on board Unforgettable, and we got many questions about that as well.
The truth is, we don't know much yet. Actually, we were still learning, but we're probably gonna have to make some arrangements on the boat.
The Northwind 435, it's a very spacious boat, and I don't see many adaptations in the sense of just like building things or just like chopping boards and stuff like that. But we have to have like our power system, electricity, you have to be always available, because the baby will be relying on that, and you also be able to generate to make water. So we need a fine-tuned water maker and the generator working to run the water maker. So I think this will be the main thing.
We are considering buying a small, tiny washing machine for baby's clothes, actually.
And different stages of the baby will demand different adaptations.
We just have to find out along the way. What's more important right now is that the system and the things on the boat are working, because it will take a lot of our time to take care of the baby, and we need to concentrate on this for a while. So if we can arrange everything to be working nicely, you don't have to be involved in electrics like for 3 days in a row.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very good point.
When we get back in a few weeks, we plan to do some work on our electrical system, install a new battery charger and inverter. Yes, maybe some extra solar panel.
Yeah.
And Another question also was if a generator and a water maker are extremely necessary.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not needed, but it's a comfort, and we have the generator already there. It's just missing one part, which is now fixed. Here in Brazil, they managed to fix the part.
Yay, finally.
Yeah, and the same goes to the water maker. You can, for sure, maybe most of the people do it without it, but it's so nice to have, and because it saves your back, it saves time.
Yeah, but just to remind you, we spent like 4 years without it.
Yeah.
So you can completely go without these two things. It's an extra comfort if you can have it, I think.
Maintenance schedule. I'm not super organized, but I have everything inside my head. So I do have a file somewhere here, and I access whenever I need. I do have some stuff on written, but I don't have a spreadsheet or anything like that, because I'm the only one doing like the heavy maintenance. So I try now, but it's just the way I do. I keep everything on my head. And for the engine, yes, in the engine I'm more specific, and I follow all the 500 or 250 hours or 6 months thing. But in general, it's just like as it's needed, or if it breaks, or yeah.
But I think to have it, it's really nice. It's just
it's great, yeah, it would be great. But I'm a bit I'm a bit paranoid, so I'm always checking on things. So you know.
Somebody asked if we could change our boat for any other boat, which boat would we change and why? I don't think about changing our boat right now because it fills all our needs at the moment. I'm really happy with our boat. I think because a bigger boat we don't need a bigger boat, and our expenses would be bigger too. So I don't know if it would be viable for us, but in in a dream world.
Well, I love Unforgettable, and I can't say that enough. It's not a matter of comparison or just like on the technical aspect, but I like Unforgettable over many of these famous models. But there's one model that I would change that I like, and you can call me cheeky, and that's an Oyster. I really like the Oyster boats, and I think that's the only boat that I said, yeah, that's the boat I would change. You know, I love the Haberhasses, I love the Amels, but they just don't touch my heart. There
are many boats that are really nice, and I'm sure like we would be happy to have, but at the moment I'm happy with Unforgettable.
One last question, it's odd, but we are asked this very frequently. It's always surprising. It's just like, what do you guys eat? So after 5 years, it's funny to hear, but we understand what people think.
It's funny because people usually think like because we live on a boat, we just eat canned food.
Because people sometimes don't realize that we have like a full-size kitchen with appliances and things like that. So we're eating way better than when you used to live in an apartment. We cannot just go to the snack bar and buy some junk.
Or call iFood all the time, so you just have to cook ourselves most of the time.
Like Uber Eats don't have this kind of thing. So we cook a lot, and we have like normal meals. We have breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Yeah, I think because many people think we are always like on a long crossing, that we cannot buy food all the time, you know, we eat like only canned or dehydrated food, but this is not, I cannot remember last time we ate this kind of food. Even in our biggest crossing, 19 days, we had fresh food nearly till the end of the crossing. Because if you think at home in a fridge, you can keep things for 2 weeks, you know. So you just have to learn some tricks to make it long last, how to store it and things like that. But most of the time we are just anchored close to a place that has a small supermarket or a food market, like for fresh vegetables and fruit. So we usually eat very well. Of course, we had to learn to cook with the ingredients we find in each place.
Yeah.
Because you don't find everything, you just have to, you know, learn to use the local things you find. And this is really nice because we start trying a lot of different things. We are very creative now in the kitchen. It's nice to have some canned food or dehydrated food in situations that the weather is really bad, you cannot stay inside, you don't want to cook, you just want to eat whatever. the easiest thing you have, but this is just like a tiny amount of our time. Like,
extra tip is just like adaptation is key, either on our
on every aspect.
Eating habits or just like to interact with people. So if you are willing to travel around the world, you have to be willing to adapt.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And I think for today, that's it. We already talked a lot. Sorry if we couldn't answer all the questions. We tried to gather the most asked ones. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope we could share some information with you guys.
I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching and see you next week.